Hey guys, come on in, it's Gigi. Let's cook up another recipe together. Today I've decided with the weather that we've been having, the temperatures in the teens, the snow, the ice, this called for some homemade chicken and dumplings, and that's what we're gonna do today. On the stove, I have some chicken broth that I'm gonna be letting it come to a boil. Right now it's just simmering because I'm not ready. I'm gonna make my dumplings. I've already deboned my chicken fryer and I've got the broth from it, but I needed a little more broth than what I got from the chicken. So what, y'all know that I love this Lono Life. This is just sipping bone broth that I order from QVC, and I have made up some extra broth. I have also poured a little bit of it over. This is just, excuse me, this is just great flavor, just an organic, savory chicken bone broth. I have poured some of it over there. I've got my chicken pulled apart, and I've got it soaking in some, just keeping it moist, got it soaking in some chicken broth. So I'll be adding this. But the reason I reserved some over to the side is I may add a little bit of the bone broth to my dumplings. Okay, so I make my dumplings a whole lot like I make my biscuits. The only difference is, of course, I'll be using plain flour or all-purpose flour versus self-rising. Okay, I'm going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Not an exact measure. You know, a lot of it is just consistency of your dough. But I'm going to start with 2. Now, if I was making for all of my family, kids, grandkids, all that, I would, of course, make a lot more. But I'm just making this for me and my husband, okay? I do think I'm going to add just maybe 2.5 cups, okay? All right. To this, I'm also going to be adding some Crisco. Let's get in here. Just like you do your biscuits, except for, like I said, just a different flour. Okay, then I'm going to be adding some buttermilk. This will be, you'll want this to be a lot stiffer of a dough than your biscuits. You know, when you're making homemade biscuits, you want your dough to be really moist and tacky, but for dumplings, you want them to be tight. You want them to be a lot firmer than biscuit dough, because you've got to be able to work this dough and roll it out on your space, your surface. You don't want it to stick. You don't want it to be tacky at all. And a lot of times, guys, it's not measuring, it's just filling. Then, of course, you'll put some flour down on your surface. I'll adjust this when I take this out of the bowl, and I can tell that it's still, you know, it's still too wet. So we're still gonna mix our dough in there, because like I said, we want to be able to roll this out. And I know, you know, a lot of times it depends on where you grew up or what you grew up on. You know, some people like to pinch their dumplings off. They like to make a, you know, a big round fluffy dumpling. And I'll just be honest with you. I'll eat dumplings any way you want to serve them to me. But when I'm fixing them, I really prefer a flatter dumpling versus a real doughy, puffy dumpling. And that's just my preference. But like I said, I'll eat it any way you serve it to me. Okay, let me see if I've got that stiff enough. I'm going to bring my flour a little bit closer to y'all so you can see. May not quite be. It feels pretty stiff. Of course, I'll know when I start to roll it out. If it sticks, I'll know that it's still too tacky. Just work your dough. Okay, let me set this buttermilk out of the way so I don't give my hands a little bit of a rinse. Grab me a drying towel, guys. Smell my broth over there. It smells really good. I go ahead and, like I said, made some extra broth. I'm gonna go ahead and add it to my stock pot. I've got about 4 cups, and I'm gonna add this jar to it too. And I'm gonna go ahead and get that to boiling because you want your broth to be at a rolling boil when you add your dumplings in, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and flour my rolling pin and see if we've got this stiff enough. Trying to keep it in your view. Yeah, I think that's good. And you just want to roll this out as thin as you can get it. And like I said, I'm not making tons of dumplings, just a good hearty pot for us to have for our supper tonight. Sit that's going. Oh yeah. And of course, you know, in your pot, you want to season it. I added some onion powder and some garlic powder to my stock, but my bone broth has great flavor. And then I've got the stock from the chicken itself, and I'll also add in a lot of black pepper. Black pepper to me is just one of those things that dumplings has to have a lot of black pepper, just like gravy has to have a lot of black pepper for me. And you just want to roll this out just as thin as you can. And when that broth comes to a boil, we can drop this in. Now, once we drop it in to our rolling boil, chicken broth, you don't want to stir your dumplings. You just want to let them alone and let them do their business. Okay, grab my cutter. Guys, I just like to take my little pizza cutter and cut them into strips and then into bite sizes. We'll pull y'all down. May take me out of view, but that's okay. You need to see what I'm doing. There we go. I'm just taking my pizza cutter and I'm making about like little 1-inch strips, give or take. Some of them may come out wider than the others. No science to this. Then I'll just go back the other way and I'll make 1 inch that way too. I've just always rolled my dumplings out. I have, in a pinch, in a hurry, bought the Mrs. B's, Mary B's, whatever, you know, the little frozen flat dumplings. I've bought those in a pinch too, but I tell you, just taking the time to roll out your own dumplings is so much better. There it is. I don't know what I did with my buttermilk lid. And guys, when that, let me turn you back up now. When that broth comes up to a rolling boil, I'm going to put these dumplings in, and then I'm going to move this over there so that you can follow me along and see what I'm doing over there. Okay, I'm going to move this over there. Okay, guys, our broth is rolling. I'm going to go ahead and add, now I may add more, but right now I'm adding a half a teaspoon of pepper, and I am going to add some salt. And I'm going to start bringing my dumplings over here and putting them in. Y'all watch my broth for me. You just want to drop them in there. Broth smells really good. And see, guys, they're really thin. They're about that bite size. Just kind of spread them out in there as you're dropping them in there. Guys, I'll keep putting these in here and then I'll come back to you. Okay, I've got all the dumplings in here, and let me just tell you, I did add some butter to the broth. Butter just gives it more flavor to those, makes those dumplings like a buttery dumpling. But I'm going to let them begin to just puff up a little bit. I just take my wooden spoon and I just move them from side to side. I don't stir, just making sure, you know, none of them are sticking to the bottom. They're not. And guys, we'll put the lid on them and let these dumplings just puff up and cook. And let me just say this while these are cooking. It's important that you really flavor your broth, because flour, Your flour and your milk and your Crisco, that's just to make your dumplings, but your flavor is going to come from, just use a good broth. If you don't have a homemade chicken broth, just make sure that you really flavor your water or your broth, whatever you're using, because the flavors that are in your broth is what's going to absorb and soak into those dumplings and give them a great flavor. So just make sure that your flavor is in your broth and it has a good flavor to it, okay? Just going to show you guys that our dumplings are cooking up nicely. Won't be too much longer. We'll be able to add the chicken in and give it a taste. Okay guys, I tasted one of our little dumplings just to make sure that they were nice and tender and fully cooked through. They are. So we're going to add our chicken that I have deboned, and I've been letting it soak here in some of our broth so that it would stay moist and tender. But we're going to go ahead and add our chicken in and let it cook for another 5-10 minutes, and we'll be ready to serve us up some. Let me see if I can bring y'all a little bit closer so you can see. Tilt you down a little bit. Guys, look at that. I think right here at the end, I'm going to add a little bit more black pepper. I told y'all I really like black pepper. I just think it makes the dumplings. All right, let's let that cook for, you see that? Let's let that cook for just another 5-10 minutes, and I'll dish this up a bowl. If anybody's interested or wants to know, this ain't I'm no affiliate, I'm not promoting or anything, but I know a lot of people will ask, like they do, where I get my mixing bowls or whatever. This is the 7-quart Dutch cast iron Dutch oven, enamel coated, and this is the Martha Stewart. Okay, I think I bought it. I either bought it at Walmart or I bought it at Walmart. Okay, I've moved this back over here. I've been letting it cool down for a little bit because it is piping hot. Of course, it's been in a rolling boil broth. But guys, and listen, like I said, everybody does their dumplings different. You do you do yours how you like yours, how you were raised, or how your family likes it. I just, like I told you, I prefer the thinner, and a lot of people will say, that's not dumplings, that's noodles. You call it whatever you want. I grew up calling it chicken and dumplings. Now I may, on another video, I may do the puffier dumplings. I mean, it's just a little bit of a different method. You just can spoon it in there and drop your flour into your broth and have a puffier dumpling, and that's okay. Like I said, I love it either way, but I just grew up and I prefer the thinner dumplings. So, and that's just how I always made it for my children. But anyhow, let's give it a taste. Perfect. What better comforting meal on cold days. The dumplings are tender, perfectly cooked. The broth has plenty of flavor. The chicken is moist. Y'all. That's some good Southern comforting food right there. Yep. Drop me a comment. Do y'all serve anything else when you have dumplings? I mean, to me, I've got my meat. I've got my bread. It just works for me as a meal. But do y'all serve it with anything? Do you make cornbread to go with it? I just, personally, when I have dumplings, I just like to have good old dumplings. Well, listen, don't be intimidated by making you some homemade dumplings. If you've never made them, they truly are easy, and the more you make them, the more comfortable you'll become, the more you'll get used to it. And they will be delicious, okay? And like I said, the main thing is just make sure you got a good broth, good seasoning to soak up those dumplings and give those dumplings good flavor. And you've got yourself a delicious bowl of chicken and dumplings. Okay, I'm gonna go, but can I encourage you to be the hands and feet of Jesus and be his mouthpiece? Check on your elderly neighbors. Check on those who may just need an extra, just an extra touch of your kindness, okay? Cold weather, a lot of people are shut in, can't get out, they get cabin fever, so just check on them and make them a good hearty bowl of chicken and dumplings. I bet you they'll be happy to see you knocking on their door. Okay, be the hands and feet of Jesus and his mouthpiece and show his love and kindness. And I'll see you back again real soon. I'm going to go eat my soup. Of course, it'll thicken up some more as it just simmers on my stove, waiting on my husband to come in from work. I'll serve him up a bowl. But I'll be back with you again really, really soon in my kitchen. We'll cook up another recipe. This is Gigi. Bye-bye. Love you guys.